Welcome to IELTS 789. Today, I'd like to show you another line graph. By the way, also check out my earlier video, Expert Improvement Tips number 1. Here's a task from Cambridge IELTS Book 8. Observe how I separated the task into 3 parts. Now, let's relate these to a flowchart plan. Putting the ideas together, the introduction is for the topic sentence. Development of the overview will be from the instruction sentence. Details for body paragraph 1 will be from the visual representation, and the same for body paragraph 2. Okay, so let's start our essay from the top, the topic sentence. Let's underline the words graph below, and this is the line graph you literally see below, and which we also refer to as the visual representation. In other words, in the topic sentence, the word graph can be replaced with the more general term visual representation, which is apt because the task is not always about a graph. It could be, for example, about a map or a process diagram. The words the and below shows are always there. They don't change, but all the other words do depending on the task. Essentially, the information remains basically the same. What exactly do I mean? Going back to the topic sentence, we have the graph below shows the quantities of goods transported. So that's what the graph's about. Or we can also say the visual representation below shows what. The topic sentence also mentions a place in the UK or a where. It also gives a time between 1974 and 2002 or a when. And for this task, the topic sentence mentions a method by 4 different modes of transport, or a how. Simply put, the topic sentence provides the context or subject of the visual representation by answering the questions what, where, when, and sometimes the how. Here's the paragraph flowchart again. The introduction that you'll write is basically a paraphrase of the topic sentence, which is the answers to the questions what, where, when, and how. Let's start writing the introduction. Note that the visual provided is a graph, specifically a line graph. Next, we follow this with answers to the what, where, when, and how. As we answer the questions, please follow the pink pen and the notes as they appear on the screen. Let's start answering the what question. What does the line graph show? Well, the topic sentence says, the graph below shows the quantities of goods transported. This information is also on the title of the graph. It is on the y-axis as well. So, we can paraphrase the quantities of goods transported to how much merchandise in millions of tons was conveyed. Putting the ideas together, we have the line graph, how much merchandise in millions of tons was conveyed. Now we need a verb to connect them together. Going back to the topic sentence, the verb used here is shows. Some of its synonyms would be depicts, illustrates, presents, and so on. For our paraphrase here, let's choose illustrates. Next, we answer the question how, before where and when, because how connects directly with the answer to the what, which is quantities of goods transported. How were the goods transported? The topic sentences by 4 different modes of transport, and these modes are listed on the right side of the graph. Now we can paraphrase further to by road, water, rail, and pipeline. Next, we answer the question where. Where were the goods transported? From the topic sentence, we read it to be in the UK. This can be found in the title as well. Paraphrasing, we have within the United Kingdom. Finally, we answer the question when. When did they visit? We see this in the topic sentence between 1974 and 2002, and again in the graph title, and finally all along the x-axis. And here's our paraphrase from 1974 to 2002. Now we have our complete introduction. The line graph illustrates how much merchandise in millions of tons was conveyed by road, water, rail and pipeline within the United Kingdom from 1974 to 2002. Next, we write our overview, and for this, we focus on the instruction sentence. Note that for any task 1, regardless of the visual representation, the instruction sentence will always be the same. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Carefully following this instruction leads to writing a clear overview. In other words, the overview we write has to focus on the main features or the main trends, which we select, report, and make comparisons relevant. And for line graphs, comparisons are always relevant. How do we select the main features or main trends to report or write about? For one, these would be the eye-catching parts of the graph, where your eyes are most drawn to. Feel free to pause the video and pay attention to where your eyes are drawn to. Were your eyes drawn to the blue, red, and purple lines and that they were moving up, but the green line wasn't? If you did, you're on the right track. If not, it just means you need more practice analyzing line graphs. Once you do this, you'll find yourself doing better. And to provide you with more practice materials, I'll be posting more Task 1 videos. Now back to the colored lines and note what each line represents, which you'll find at the right side of the graph itself. From there you can see that the blue line is for road transport of goods, the red line is for water, the green is for rail, and the purple is for pipeline. From the direction of the lines, we establish trend 1, all trending upwards apart from rail. Let's have another look at the graph. Where else are your eyes drawn to? Right, the starting and ending values. For these, please look closely at the years 1974 and 2002, as well as the highlighted numbers on the graph. Now let's gather all these numbers, and for an easier way to observe the behavior of the data, organize these figures in a table, if you wish. Relating the information on the graph and table together, we have trend 2. Most used throughout was by road, least by pipeline, despite its fastest growth. Putting trends 1 and 2 together, we have our overview. Overall, apart from rail, all the other 3 transit methods were trending upwards. Road was the most used throughout, while pipeline, comparatively with the fastest growth, continued to be the least. To recap, the introduction presents the task by providing answers to what, where, when, and how, while the overview summarizes the main features or trends. Okay, let's go back briefly to the overview, which contains the main trends or features. Keep in mind that these trends will be our guide in writing the 2 body paragraphs. This means we need to plan how to assign these trends into 2 coherent and cohesive paragraphs. If you look closely, trends 1 and 2 focus mainly on road, water, and pipeline trends, which we can describe in more detail in body paragraph 1. Rail, which behaves differently, will be in body paragraph 2. And our overview makes this distinction clear. Pause the video if you wish, so you can take time to relate the color-coded main trends on the left to the color-coded overview on the right. Now we are ready to write our body paragraphs, which will have the details or data to the main trends. Looking at the graph, note that we have a dynamic line graph, since the data changes over time, and that's how we'll describe the graph, from left to right, from 1974 to 2002. Let's start writing body paragraph 1. Let's start in 1974. Please follow the pink pen on the left and the paragraph on the right as they appear on the screen. You can also follow along if you wish by pausing the video at any point and try writing your own, then compare it with what's on the screen. In 1974, road transport handled over 70 million tons of goods, nearly twice the tonnage of water and rail conveyances. and approximately 14 times that of pipeline. In the ensuing years, besides rail, the rest exhibited similar patterns of growth, stability, and decline. By 2002, increased delivery volumes were observed, with road hovering above 95 million tons, water approaching 65 million tons, and pipeline virtually quadrupling to almost 20 million tons from their original totals. Now we're ready to write our last paragraph. Follow the purple pen on the left as well as the paragraph on the right as they appear on the screen. In contrast, rail transportation never exceeded its initial figure of around 40 million tons, which held steady until 1978, followed by a decline marked by two fluctuations. Its next highest record was in 1990 at about 35 million tons, situated between 1986 and 1994, when its lowest levels reached roughly 30 million tons. By 2002, it reattained its starting number. And here's a complete Task 1 essay with 178 words. But hold on, we're not exactly done yet. I'd like to show you how you can shorten this to 163 words. And all I did was rewrite the introduction. Note the use of more precise vocabulary, which shortened the text. And I did the same with the overview. I did these changes to show you how lexical skills can improve your IELTS performance further, and with practice you surely can. If you have any questions on the topic, feel free to write it on the comment section below, and I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. Thank you. And here's the shorter version. And this brings us to the end of the lesson. I hope you found this video helpful, and see you soon in another IELTS lesson. Good luck and keep practicing.